Ladies and gentlemen, oh, how it burns them, doesn't it? Your calmness, your poise, your unshaken demeanor, like a dagger to their fragile, inflated ego. You see, they can't stand it. They can't stand that you are not moved, that you don't fall into the traps they set for you. They try to provoke you. They want to see you crack. They want to see you unravel. But instead they watch you stand there, indifferent, like an unmoved pillar, while their world crumbles around them. It's almost poetic, really. They have built their lives on false premises, based on the delicate architecture of their narcissism. And when you come along with your indifference, it's as if the whole thing is torn down, brick by brick. And they don't know how to handle it. They've grown accustomed to people bending to their will, to people inflating their fragile sense of superiority with constant validation and praise. And now you come in with your quiet power, your nonchalance, and it shatters them. It's not because you've done anything wrong. It's because you've done everything right. And that's what drives them mad, isn't it? They have spent their lives convincing themselves that they are above everyone else, that they are the center of the universe, and that the world should revolve around them. But here you are, standing there, without the need for their approval, without the desire for their attention, and it eats at them like acid. They cannot grasp it. They cannot comprehend why you don't crave the same validation. They do, why you don't seem to care about the same things. They've worked so hard to manipulate others into caring about why they cannot make you play their games, why you don't dance to their tune, why your existence seems to effortlessly undermine everything they have ever tried to convince the world about themselves. See, it's not just your actions that bother them, it's your very existence. It's the way you walk into a room and own it without saying a word. It's the way you sit there with a quiet confidence and they feel the crushing weight of their own insecurity press down on them. It's the way you don't get rattled when they throw their tantrums and try to pull you into their drama. You see, every time they try to get a rise out of you and fail, every time they try to manipulate you into reacting, and you don't, it feels like a slap to their face and they can't handle it, because deep down they know that they're nothing without the attention of others. They know that their entire sense of self is built on a lie, and every time you ignore them, every time you walk past them with that calm, unbothered attitude, it chips away at that lie, piece by piece, until there's nothing left but their naked fear. It's the fear of being exposed for what they truly are, fragile, broken souls, desperately clinging to their inflated sense of superiority, because without it, they are nothing. And it's your refusal to play into their delusions that threatens to bring them down to earth. It's your indifference that reminds them of their smallness, their irrelevance, and it eats away at them slowly and steadily until they can't breathe under the weight of their own delusion. Their entire world was constructed on the need for others to inflate their ego, and yet, here you are, simply being yourself, refusing to acknowledge the authority they believe they have over you, and it sends them spiraling. It sends them into a frenzy of self-doubt because they can't make sense of it. They don't understand how someone could exist without needing their validation, without needing their constant approval. And the more you show them that you don't need them, the more they crumble. You see, this is what happens when you refuse to play their game. When you refuse to bow down to their narcissism, they become desperate. They lash out. They try to break you, but they can't, because you've already broken them without lifting a finger. They have built their lives on manipulation and control. They thrive on creating chaos around them to keep people off balance, to keep people seeking their approval and validation. But you are the exception to their rules, and that terrifies them because they don't know how to control you. They don't know how to bend you to their will, and that is why they fear you. They fear your indifference because it reveals the cracks in their armor. It reveals the truth that they are nothing more than fragile little people hiding behind a mask of arrogance and self-importance. And every time you stand firm in your nonchalance, you expose their weakness, and that is something they cannot tolerate. It's the ultimate humiliation for them, isn't it? They can manipulate everyone around them. They can twist and turn situations to make themselves the hero. But when it comes to you, they can't get a reaction, no matter how hard they try, and it burns them. It burns them deep because it shows them just how insignificant they truly are in your world. They are nothing to you, and they can't handle that because they need to be everything to everyone. They need to be the focal point of every conversation, every interaction. And when you show them that you are not affected by their narcissistic games, it threatens to pull back the curtain on their entire existence and show the world what they truly are. And they will fight tooth and nail to prevent that from happening. They will try everything in their power to bring you down, to make you care about them, to make you fall into their trap. But it won't work because you've already seen through them. You've already understood what they are, and you no longer need their approval to validate your worth. In a way, they are the perfect example of everything that's wrong with a world built on the false pillars of ego and self-obsession. They are the embodiment of a system that rewards manipulation and self-centeredness. And when you refuse to engage with that system, when you choose to remain indifferent to their narcissistic demands, you become a threat to everything they stand for. You become a reflection of everything they fear. You become the living proof that there is another way to live, a way that doesn't rely on feeding the fragile egos of others, a way that doesn't require constant validation, a way that doesn't need to be constantly propped up by the praise and adoration of others, and that scares them to their core. Because let's face it, they are nothing without the attention of others. They are nothing without the constant reinforcement of their own delusions. And when you come along with your calm, unshaken demeanor, it threatens to expose them for what they truly are. People who are terrified of being seen for who they really are. People who cannot exist without the validation of others. People who are desperate for the world to recognize their worth, because deep down, they know that without it, they are hollow inside. And when you refuse to give them what they need, when you refuse to feed into their false sense of self-importance, it's like you've stripped away their armor and they are left standing there naked and exposed. And that's when the real battle begins, because they will do everything in their power to regain control. They will try to manipulate you. They will try to guilt you. They will try to make you doubt yourself. They will try to make you believe that you are the one in the wrong, that you are the one who is broken. But don't let them. They are the ones who are broken. They are the ones who are fragile. They are the ones who cannot exist without their ego being constantly inflated by others. And when you stand strong in your indifference, you remind them of their weakness, and that's why they can't stand you, because your strength comes from a place they can never reach. And that's why they will always be tripping, and you will always remain untouched, because you have already won. And they are just too lost in their own delusions to see it. So let them trip, let them spiral, let them burn in the fire of their own insecurity, because at the end of the day, it's your calmness, your poise, your ability to stand tall and unshaken that will always have the last laugh. You don't need to prove anything to them. You don't need to engage with their games. You don't need to react to their tantrums, because you know the truth. You know that their ego is nothing but a fragile house of cards waiting to collapse, and you will stand there watching it crumble while you remain steadfast, unbothered, because in the end they will always be tripping, and you will always remain above it all. And so as they stumble over their own inflated egos, as they try desperately to claw their way back into control, remember this: They can never touch you because they are too busy trying to put themselves on a pedestal. They will never be able to knock you down because they are too consumed by their own need for validation. And that is the ultimate victory, the one they can never take from you, the one that will burn them from the inside out and leave you standing tall above it all, untouched, unbothered, and untouchable. These words are more than just a state of being. They're a testament to something deeper, something that cuts to the heart of what it means to rise above, to stand firm, to be so unshaken that the world around you seems to distort, to crumble, to buckle under the weight of its own ignorance. When they try to break you, when they try to attack you with their words, their tactics, their false accusations, you stand. And you stand tall. They don't know how to process that, do they? They've been trained their whole lives to see strength as a flashy thing. Strength to them means being loud, being brash, being the loudest in the room, the one who demands attention. They've been raised to believe that strength is something that should be seen, celebrated, worshipped. But real strength, true strength, is quiet. It's invisible to them. It's the kind of power that doesn't need validation. It doesn't need to be acknowledged or praised. You don't shout to make yourself known. You don't scream to prove your worth. You exist with such quiet confidence that they feel threatened just by your presence, and in their weakness, they lash out. But you are untouchable. When their world collapses under the weight of their own false assumptions, when their fragile egos crack and crumble, they try to pin it on you, don't they? They accuse you of being the one who doesn't care, the one who's detached, the one who's indifferent. But in truth, what they fear is not your indifference. It's the mirror you hold up to them. The way you stand unmoved, the way you exist without needing their approval or their praise. You are the reflection of everything they have tried so hard to suppress. The truth that their ego is nothing but an illusion. Their world was built on the need to control, to dominate, to dictate, and yet here you are, a force of nature that doesn't even acknowledge their rules. They need you to react. They need you to engage with their chaos. When they push you, when they try to provoke you, they expect you to flinch, to scream, to try and defend yourself. But you don't. You stand there, eyes unwavering, with a calmness that drives them insane. Your silence is louder than any words they could hurl your way. And in that silence, they hear the truth. They hear their own inadequacies, their own insecurities. They hear the whispers of their ego cracking, of the foundations of their entire existence trembling beneath them. The world around them thrives on chaos, on the constant noise of validation, on the constant need to be recognized. Their identity, their sense of self, depends on the approval of others, on the acknowledgement that they are worthy of attention, worthy of admiration. And when you refuse to engage, when you refuse to feed that hunger, it's as if they are starving, and they don't know how to cope with that hunger. They don't know how to exist when the spotlight is no longer on them. And in their desperation, they lash out. But it won't work. It never does. Because you are untouched, you are unbothered. The truth is, they don't understand strength. They don't understand that real power doesn't need to be flaunted. It doesn't need to be paraded around for the world to see. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Your power lies in your ability to remain calm, to remain still in the face of their chaos. It lies in your ability to rise above the petty drama, the manipulation, the deceit, and still stand firm in your own truth. They want you to doubt yourself. They want you to question your worth. They want you to beg for their approval. But you know something they'll never understand. Your worth has never depended on them. It never will. When they see you, They see a reflection of everything they could never be. And it stings. It cuts them deep. Because they know, deep down, that their entire existence is built on lies. They tell themselves that they are above everyone else, that they are more important, more valuable. But you are living proof that they are wrong. You are a living, breathing embodiment of everything they fear. Someone who doesn't need their approval. Someone who doesn't need to be validated. Someone who stands alone, untouched, untouchable. And that terrifies them. So they try to manipulate you. They try to twist your words, twist your actions, twist your intentions. They'll accuse you of being cold, of being heartless, of being indifferent. But that's not the truth. The truth is, they cannot stand the fact that you don't need them. They cannot stand the fact that you are not playing by their rules. They cannot stand the fact that you are above it all. And so, they will do anything they can to pull you down, to bring you into their world of drama and chaos, to make you feel as small and insignificant as they do. But it won't work. Because you are untouched, you are untouchable. Every time they try to break you, every time they try to provoke you, they fail. They fail because you are impervious to their games. You are immune to their tactics. You are unbothered because you know that their power is fleeting, that their influence is temporary. They need you to care. They need you to play along with their sick, twisted dance of manipulation. But you refuse. You stand firm, unshaken, unmovable. And with every passing day, their grip on reality weakens, their confidence falters, their ego shatters. And all the while, you stand there, untouched, unbothered, untouchable. There's a beauty in this silence, in this stillness. It's a power that transcends words, that transcends actions. It's a power that speaks for itself, that demands nothing but commands everything. It's the power of self-assurance, of knowing who you are, of knowing your worth, without needing to prove it to anyone. And they cannot stand it. They cannot stand that you are not like them. They cannot stand that you don't need them. You don't need their validation. You don't need their approval. You don't need their praise. And that, my friends, is the ultimate victory. Because while they are tripping, while they are desperately trying to hold on to their crumbling ego, you are already long gone. You've already moved on. You've already ascended beyond their petty games, beyond their need for constant validation. You've already walked away from their chaos, and now you stand alone, untouched, unbothered, untouchable. And that is a power they will never have. That is a power they will never understand. And that, my friends, is what will ultimately break them. When you walk away, when you turn your back and refuse to engage, that's when they are truly defeated. They don't realize it in the moment, of course. They're so consumed with their own insecurities, their own inflated ego, that they believe their power lies in controlling others, in making others bend to their will. But you are the exception. You're the one they can't control. You're the one they can't manipulate. You're the one they can't provoke into submission. And that terrifies them. Because deep down, they know the truth. Their entire existence is built on a lie. It's built on the belief that they are the center of the universe, that everything and everyone should revolve around them, that they are worthy of admiration and respect without ever having to earn it. But you see through that lie, and when you turn away, when you show them that they are nothing to you, it exposes the cracks in their armor. It reveals their weakness, their fragility. They cannot exist without their ego. They cannot stand to be alone, to be ignored, to be rejected. Every moment they are not the focus of attention is a moment they feel like they are vanishing, disappearing into the void. And that is the greatest fear they have, being nothing. But you don't need them. You don't need to constantly seek out their approval, their praise, their recognition. You don't need them to validate your worth, and that is what cuts them the deepest. When you withdraw your energy from them, when you stop feeding their insatiable need for validation, you expose their core, you expose their truth, and they can't handle it. They will fight to keep you in their orbit. They will try to manipulate you, to guilt trip you, to make you feel like you owe them something. They will try every tactic in the book to bring you back into their world of chaos and control, but it will never work, not on you. Because you've already seen through them, you've already recognized their weaknesses, you've already learned that their power is built on lies, on manipulation, on the fragile ego that is held up by the attention and approval of others. You know their game, and you refuse to play it. And that refusal, that simple act of rejecting their demands, of walking away without a second thought, is what will break them. You see, it's not your anger that hurts them. It's not your confrontation, your words, or your actions. It's your indifference. It's your refusal to engage. Because when you walk away, when you stop caring, it forces them to confront the reality that they are nothing without the validation of others. It forces them to look in the mirror and see the emptiness beneath the facade. It forces them to realize that they have spent their lives building a house of cards, and the slightest breeze, your indifference, could bring it all crashing down. That's when the panic sets in. That's when the cracks in their armor begin to widen. Because they don't know how to exist without their inflated sense of self-worth. They don't know who they are without the approval of others. They've spent their entire lives convincing themselves that they are superior, that they are above everyone else, and that they are entitled to respect and admiration simply because they exist. But you've shattered that illusion. You've taken away their power, their ability to control and manipulate, and they can't stand it. They don't know what to do when they can't make you react. They don't know what to do when they can't provoke you, when they can't drag you into their web of lies and chaos. They will try everything: flattery, guilt, anger, even threats. But nothing will move you. They will throw everything they have at you, but it will all bounce off because you are impervious to their tactics. You are unshaken, unmoved. You are untouchable. And that is the ultimate power. It is not the power to dominate, to control, or to manipulate. It is the power to remain calm, to remain centered, to remain unaffected by the noise and the chaos around you. It is the power to stand firm in your truth, to walk your path without needing anyone's approval or validation. It is the power to be your authentic self without fear, without hesitation, without doubt. And that, my friends, is the power that breaks them, because they cannot understand it, they cannot comprehend it, and they never will. They will try to paint you as cold, as heartless, as indifferent, but the truth is, they are the ones who are cold. They are the ones who are heartless. They are the ones who are indifferent to the needs and feelings of others. They are the ones who have spent their lives pretending to be something they are not, hiding behind a mask of arrogance and superiority because they are too afraid to confront their own flaws, their own insecurities. They need others to believe in their lies because without that belief, they have nothing. But you don't need their lies. You don't need their validation. You don't need their approval. You don't need them. And that is why they will always be beneath you. They will always be chasing, always scrambling, always trying to keep up. But you will always be a step ahead because you know the truth. You know that true power comes from within, not from external validation. You know that true strength comes from being at peace with who you are, from standing in your truth without fear of what anyone else thinks. And so, as they spiral, as they grasp at straws, as they try desperately to regain control, remember this. They are already defeated. Their need for validation, their fragile ego, their constant quest for attention is what will ultimately break them. You, on the other hand, are untouched. You are unbothered. You are untouchable. And no matter how hard they try, they will never be able to break you because you are beyond their reach. The more they struggle, the more they reveal their weakness. The more they try to bring you down, the more they expose their own fragility. And eventually, they will crumble under the weight of their own insecurity, their own lies, their own need for validation. And when they do, you will be there, standing tall, standing firm, standing untouchable. Because while they were busy building a fragile empire based on manipulation and deceit, you were building something far stronger, a life based on authenticity, on inner strength, and on the power of simply being yourself. And that, my friends, is something they can never take from you. No matter how hard they try, no matter what they do, they will never have the power to destroy what you have built. Because you're untouchable. In the end, it's simple. They will always trip. They will always struggle to maintain the illusion of control, because their power was never real. It was built on fragile lies, on the need for constant validation. But you stand unshaken, untouched, untouchable. You don't need their approval, their praise, or their manipulation. And that is where your true strength lies, the ability to remain steadfast, indifferent, and unapologetically yourself. You have already won, because in their desperation to control, they've shown you exactly who they are, and that is a victory they will never understand. Your calm is your weapon, and it will be what breaks them every time.